If you want behind the scenes access of how I shoot YouTube's top lead generating video, I'm going to give it to you today. In fact, in our done for you service where we have elite coaching students in there, I actually went on and recorded a map video with one of our students. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to release it to you guys. So you guys are really going to see how I go through these, how I talk about them, how I get the questions, how I get all the data, how I get the information, all of that. And then you're going to see how I work through a map and really get those average view durations up. These are the videos out of all of them that I've ever shot that last the longest, sometimes upwards of 6 to 7 years, generating leads for your business every single day. Now here in 1 second, I'm gonna show you that video. But if these videos are giving you any value at all, I need you to hit that like button and also subscribe if you are new to this YouTube channel. What area was it?
For me, Fort Collins. So is the moving to Fort Collins, everything you know, is going to be the title. It won't release for a couple of weeks, but just got it uploaded to my um, editor.
Yeah.
Well, and one thing I learned from watching Jackson's video about them too, because I struggled with it as well, is if you notice, they do a lot of storytelling.
Yep.
And so that's one thing that I've started incorporating into mine that make it a little bit more, I feel like that's a drastic shift if you copy the storytelling that they do.
hmm
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll kind of build this out in front of you guys so you can see. So the good news is like I don't know anything about Fort Collins, right? So I can't make anything up. We'll build this whole thing out of just like me asking you questions, but right out of the gate, I mean, leveraging maps, it's directly north of Denver. So it's probably and it's is this one of the bigger areas people are moving to?
Yeah, north of Denver for sure.
Okay, north of Denver. And what why is that? Is there um
Lifestyle.
new is it just lifestyle but new companies moving out that way?
No, zero companies. It's purely like 300 days of sun, foothills, outdoor lifestyle. Like it's a lifestyle design because it's definitely not affordability. Used to be, used to be affordability, but definitely that's kind of changed. It's
Yeah,
a it's
people
a
don't
college
care
it's a
moving.
college town too.
Yeah. Yeah, so right out of the gate, and that's why I love doing this. So when I'm like driving with people in these areas, this is what I ask them, simple questions like that. Um, is there other areas like from Fort Collins that people choose over Fort Collins? Is there areas out like what parts of Fort Collins are typically the most popular?
Yeah, they choose surrounding areas like Loveland or Windsor or Wellington for affordability, but like if you can afford it, they live in Fort Collins. And then of course, it's if you go like people would choose Boulder over Fort Collins, like realistically, but Boulder's even another tier of affordability, like crisis type deal. And so they kind of find their way. They look at Fort Collins. They usually, if they're coming in, they'll explore Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs is nice for specific, things, but they'll look at Fort Collins, Denver, and Colorado Springs, and then depending on what pushes them, they'll, end up in one or the other.
Gotcha. And then um what's the style of living in Fort Collins? And
What do
what I
you
mean by that is like suburbs.
mean?
I'm already building this out in my head, what I would say.
Okay.
Suburbs,
Yeah,
probably
it's
looks like some lake living and then mountain living and then
yeah,
downtown living.
a lot of people move here. It's a great school district, so it's a great place to like raise family. Very low crime. There is a cute downtown and Old Town area that people go to, like as far as a tourist. We're actually you consider Fort Collins even like a tourist attraction area.
Hmm.
A lot of our sales tax revenue, but a lot of people who live here on a day to day. A lot of them are remote workers, so industry is not what drives people here. Like there's
Yep.
some decent industry, but not a lot to support the cost of living. And so it's people that want to be there for raising their families, can remote work, like to get up into the mountains, hills, ski potentially, but really just uh, enjoy the area
Different vibe than like Denver.
for sure. Yeah, Denver's more for sure more of a metro. Lot, better industry. We call it the brain drain for CSU. A lot of people will graduate from CSU and then have to go down to Denver to justify the spend on their their university. So they'll either go to Denver or Los Angeles, somewhere bigger, but Fort Collins doesn't have the industry to do that. So it's a much slower paced life for sure.
Is it like pretty difficult to find stuff in Fort Collins right now, or is it kind of an opportune time to get in because of market?
Ish, yeah. There's we've got more, like everybody, more supply than we've had in the last decade, but still constrained, historically. So decent opportunity, some good negotiation power, and but not super difficult, but every once in a while. We just had a multiple offer situation on a house, which is rare these days.
All right, so now I've collected all the data and we're starting to go through this map. I'm going to finish it. Don't worry, you'll get to see that. But this is a real behind the scenes for our done for you clients. So this is what we specialize in. We're going to provide you the titles. We're going to provide you the hooks. We're going to provide you the information that needs to go in those videos. When you're done shooting those, then we edit those videos. We upload them. We do the titles, the tags, the SEO, and the thumbnails. These are all the exact same editors and thumbnail artists that I currently use. And the best part about this is you get a full content manager. So once that video is published and it gets some data, we're going to go through that video with you, making sure that it is performing. And if it's not, we're going to look at the retention graphs, see where you lost everybody, and eliminate it from the next video. We really want to see your average view durations and your content really grow. And the one way we do that is by controlling everything. All you got to do is shoot the video. Down in the description and the pinned comment is our link to book a free strategy call. You can also head over to channeljunkies.com. Not everybody's going to make it. We only want people who put in the work and can be consistent. But if you think that's you, make sure you book that free strategy call and just see if you're a fit for our done for you services. And again, if you're getting value from these videos, guys, I'm putting everything into this channel like I have for over 8 years. Hit that like button. If you want to follow today's top strategies, make sure you subscribe, and let's get back to the video. So like hearing that, like the way that I would start this video is just kind of summing up a lot of these things, hitting some serious pain points, right? So like if you're thinking about moving to Fort Collins, or you do, hey, this video is going to be all about why everybody's choosing to live in Fort Collins. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, Fort Collins isn't for everybody. It is expensive. The good news is people are choosing Fort Collins over, popular areas like Boulder, Colorado. I'm going to tell you why later in this video. But Fort Collins, again, I'm not allowed to steer in any way. If you look up on Reddit, Redfin, you can see that schools are great there. And it's the ultimate lifestyle place to live. This is where you can get quickly up into the mountains. Lifestyle is everything. The cutest downtown ever, or that you're going to find. And the cool part about that, you're not just going to go once and be bored. This is where you can go all the time. And if you can't afford the actual Fort Collins, which everybody loves, I'm going to also give you 3 little bonus areas that people are choosing where you can still live that lifestyle. We're really going to go through all the different styles of living, from lake living, mountain living, suburbs, right down to downtown condo living. And I'm going to give you 3 or 4 areas that are the most popular that people would love to live, in and around Fort Collins. So throughout this video, the most important thing I'm going to do is talk about a few good areas, that you would like to live. But most importantly, we're going to cover some areas that you might actually not like living. And I'll give you some areas that will help you, with that decision. So I'm going to hook them with basically everything you just told me. And that hits them, right? Because they're already going, okay, lifestyle, schools. Okay, maybe I can't afford Fort Collins. What are these other bonus areas? And what do you mean there's spots that I might not like, And so that's what I do with the North Idaho one too, all the time, right? Like North Idaho was very small, and I would compare to, Coeur d'Alene a lot. And then I would, since I was from there, I could be like, and I'm going to give you some stories on what it's like living in Spirit Lake, Idaho, because I'm telling you right now, none of you have searched it up. But everybody, once they drive here and drive through it, they're choosing it. I'm going to tell you why. And since I know every single street there, I'm going to be breaking down some awesome areas where you can get acreage, 2 acres, 3 acres. In fact, I got a buddy who's got 5 acres there with a big ass shop. We go motorcycle riding, gun shooting. It is amazing living, but you've never heard of it. We'll talk about all that and also the reasons why you would probably hate living in this area as well. So from that, I'm going to jump right into the map, guys. All right, we're going to jump into the map. And then I always do the broad view. As you can see, Denver's straight south on 25. It's about and I'm making it up, but it's about a, 35-minute drive. But usually the traffic can be pretty hectic. People commuting, because a lot of people got to work in Denver, but they commute out. So 25 can be, terrible. In fact, whenever I make that drive, I usually take the back roads. I come up through, Berthoud, whatever. But this is again another reason you need to reach out to me, because there's a lot of areas, outside of Fort Collins that can put you closer to, Denver. And then we've got Boulder, of course, which is where everybody wants to be. So there's some new little spots popping up we're going to talk about as well, where I think you can get extreme value, before it really blows up. And then you get the benefits of both Boulder and Fort Collins. So as you know, and so I'm going to kind of build it out like that. I think when you go kind of broad like that, I've got them so hooked. They're like, what? Okay, now I got Boulder, I got Fort Collins, there's mystery areas. And with that, then you can kind of hyper localize, like, look, here's Fort Collins. You're going to see it on the map. Nobody's moving, downtown. It is a college town. There's condos, town live, that kind of stuff. But I'm not seeing, a lot of people move and relocate. When they want Fort Collins, it's actually, and again, I don't know this. So I'm just going to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
it up. It's actually areas more like this Rigdon Farm. So Rigdon Farm, has really blown up, but it's also kind of an older part of town. This we, see people getting into more of the older style homes, because you have all the park here. You have CSU Learning. This is, the other day, me and the kiddos and the dogs, we come down here to the pond. There's trails all over there. My kids love it. There's biking trails. There's the raddest little skate park right here. I was doing some kick flips the other day, blew my ankle out, but to be able to do that right in your backyard, I mean, people just eat it up. You will not see people driving around, like they're going to be walking, biking everywhere all day long. It's one of the ultimate lifestyles. But if you're more of like that mountain goer, you want to be right into the hiking, we got to focus kind of on the west side of Collins. And so with that, you can actually see some of these trailheads that, I mean, they pop up, and we've got, the Horsetooth Reservoir. This is a lake that I grew up on my whole life. Incredible boating. There's great, fishing in there. This is, there's private little beaches, which again, I can kind of tell you about, summertime. It's a lot of fun. But the cool, part about this is a lot of this is all national forest, a lot of trailheads. You can get, great maps. You're basically never going to run out of trails. And so with that, we're looking, actually up to the north, LaPorte, right? LaPorte's going to be outside of it a little ways. It is a, older town, but it's got these new subdivisions building around it so that you can be kind of on the north end of the lake. As you can see, paddleboarding. Again, this is the ultimate lifestyle. And guys, this is why you reach out to me. I can't cover everything about Fort Collins today. I'll give you some great areas, but when you reach out to me personally and you start telling me exactly what you like and don't like, I'm going to pinpoint a place that you've never heard of. I'm telling you right now, I can pinpoint the perfect spot, because the thing you don't know about living in Fort Collins is we're high up in the mountains here. We do get 300 days of sun, which is awesome. People don't believe that, but it's real. So even in the winter, you're going to see how active it is. But there's parts of this area that are north facing slopes, right? So you're going to get a really tough winter, and those are winters in snow that can last all the way till April, May. And I've even seen it in June before, whereas some areas are south facing slopes. You're going to get that snow melt off a lot quicker, which just makes it nicer for the driveway. You're not having icy driveways and shit around all day cold, and you're going to get that sunshine a little bit longer in the afternoon. So let's move to the suburbs. If you're a family, looking, you've already gone online, you've seen some of the school districts, Maple Hill area. We're getting a lot of development out here. And as you can see, Fort Collins is all packed in here. And so really a lot of the space to grow is out here towards Cobb Lake. And we got a lot of new communities coming up. In fact, I just had a client come in. They want that ultimate lifestyle, the schools, and they were really stuck on the LaPorte. Everybody likes LaPorte and Bellevue. But I told them, after hearing, that they wanted to be able to walk, have the parks, and they got kids who play sports. Maple Hill, I'm telling you right now, it is the shit. And I got 3 kids. We're involved in sports. We're always having to drive over here because they got the newest soccer fields, and they're even lit. Some of them are turf. We get to play. It's really amazing facilities. And then you still have, the parks. You still have some of the nature preserves, but you're a really quick drive. And once you get up into this area, your traffic isn't going to be as bad as it is down to the south in Fort Collins, right? So again, whatever lifestyle you want, maybe, kids are out of the house and you're looking for that real just I want to walk downtown, hit the yoga studio, get a coffee, be able to go hiking, walking, you're going to want to be over at Rogers Park, So with that being said, I would, Pat, I don't know these areas, so I would be zooming in and out a lot, and I would be switching to the satellite view all the time. Guys, as you can, and I just made this up, but guys, as you can see, Maple Hill, you're getting a lot like this development. I was just in there the other day. There's actually a bunch of new houses in here. The picture isn't even updated, but these are really cool homes in here where you're going to get extra space. Some of them have 3-car garage, whatever, but this is where they're starting to develop. And you also have the Fort Collins Country Club. I love golfing. It's a great club. And there's a golf cart community here, a couple of these. So if that's something you're striving towards, being able to golf cart, you can hit in here. These are great little lakes. I grew up fishing on these things, catching, panfish. There's a lot of bank fishing, but you can actually take out, canoes, paddle. But you'll see a lot of people in those kayaks nowadays, the single man kayaks, heading out there catching fish, and then, mountain bike trails, this and that. So I'm in and out of the satellite. I gave you guys 3 calls to action right there. And I'm really just kind of describing these areas. And then obviously, I don't know this area, but I could probably go for another hour just kind of given the differences in those.
Yeah,
But
that's
every
the
time I get,
part that I felt like was like I was like, fuck, like I could go forever, but like I don't know. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and you can. And I mean, look, if it doesn't get 5,000 views out of the gate, whatever, who cares? I bet you a year from now, you look back at that thing with 21,000 views and it's just a lead machine. You're gonna be like, God damn, those map videos you gotta think of as more like the retirement video. They just sit there and punt,
Mhm.
and they start working their way up into the leading spot for search. So it's not a bad idea sometimes to maybe reshoot one if you can, if I say this correct, if you can speed up some of the stuff, but also keep the length, like maybe you spent too much time on one area, or maybe you didn't hook them in that area, like why that area is special, and you can rehook them and get in there. But I bet you everybody in here who's had a channel for a while also says, God, I did this map video like 2, 3 years ago, and the thing is still pumping. And I tried to do a new one and it fell flat on its face. Sometimes your first go at it's just amazing. If you already did it, upload it.
Cool. Thank you.
Sometimes your first ones are just better. But that's kind of how I do them. So like again, to summarize that, we talked about, and I asked you just simple questions because I don't live in Fort Collins. I don't think I've ever been there, except I think my sister played volleyball there.
I mean, that'd be pretty impressive. CSU's a top volleyball school, so she's
It
got to be
wasn't,
pretty.
no, maybe it was another fort in Colorado. I can't remember what one it was.
There you go.
But I was just generally curious, and that's what the people are. And so, I would mention those things like I did in my intro, like this is lifestyle play. It's not the most affordable by any means, but the good news is I'm going to give you a couple areas if you can't afford actual Fort Collins that you get the exact same lifestyle, you're right around it. And they're blowing up new facilities, and then we touched on the family thing and also said I can't steer. Those are all things. And then you talked about the supply and the multiple offer. Those are things that I would be mentioning, like, hey, everybody thinks this market's dead. We've had a 4.3% increase in price. So there's more homes on inventory right now than we've seen in a long time, but the prices are still going up. So it only tells me one thing. If interest rates come down, these things, like, it's just going to explode again. So you don't want to be caught into that. And maybe right now isn't the perfect time to buy, but why not have the conversation? I'm not here to sell you anything. In fact, 2 people called me last week. And one of them, they just weren't ready. We told them, no, do not even try right now. Let's wait for a year. And the other one said, holy crap, actually, this is a good time. Again, we just want to have the conversation with you. We also want you to figure out the areas, so that when you come here, you're not wasting time driving around.
I'll reshoot it right after this.
You're like, I'm gonna hang up now and go, no, but
I know, kind of like I fresh.
fresh. Yeah, so the hooks I've kind of learned, like what's great about the area, what are a couple areas around it that are surprising. And I'll say it, even though they may have heard, I don't care. I'm going to talk about a couple areas you've never even heard of. It doesn't matter. You can't think, well, they probably heard of Windsor. They probably heard, doesn't matter. I'm going to talk about some areas you've never heard of that I think are better. And also some reasons you might not actually even like Fort Collins. And from there, if you're like, everybody wants Fort Collins and Boulder, but I'm telling you right now that the sneaky place to be is, Greenlee, right? Or Greeley or whatever. Like that's you get benefit of both of them, lifestyle wise, and like you're going to get a way bigger home. It's blowing up. That's where people are going. And if you want your own done for you service where you get us personally, me and our team, plus a content manager to coach you through each and every video, make sure you guys go down in the description, book your free strategy call. Look, the worst thing that can happen is you figure out it's not a fit for you and you move on. But then you're going to be thinking the whole time, I wonder what it is like. Book the strategy call or head over to channeljunkies.com. Check out reviews, read those, and you can book a call on that website as well. And we'll see if you're a fit for our program. In the meantime, these are today's top YouTube strategies. So if you really want to see if you're doing things correctly and what to avoid, I've broken it down in this entire playlist. So check out those videos and hope to see you on a strategy call soon.